must unlearn what you have learned.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No, try not.
Teams. Farming. Finished, they must be. Greetings and hello there, everyone. It's me, your ever-loving Star Wars Dad Nooch Too Good. Make sure to like and subscribe like Happy Nooch over here with his toy Lego X-Wing. Hey, I released a video, I don't know, a couple weeks ago now. 12 days ago is when I released the video. Called Maximize Your Roster. We took a couple of rosters, we compared them, we talked about how a guy had a bunch of stuff on his roster like Padme and CLS and other teams that weren't complete teams. They were just, you know, they were like Gear 12 with a bunch of Gear 9, Gear 11, and really needed to maximize the stuff that was already on his roster. And I really do preach that. You know, for everybody out there, if you've got a roster, whatever's on it, maximize the teams you got on there before moving on to other stuff. If you're going to farm Padme, get a Padme team. If you're going to farm CLS, get a CLS team. You know, 3PO may be an exception there, but do the best to get the most out of what you have before you start farming even more stuff. You get a bunch of mediocre stuff on your roster. A few great things on your roster is better than a bunch of mediocre stuff, okay? I get a lot of responses similar to this, but I thought it was a really good discussion that was initiated, so we're going to take a look at this discussion today and really dig into it and talk about what's going on here. So, Kiki Machia says, I don't know, it makes no sense to point out that every character he has and tell him at 4 million they should all be G13. If the whole list you mentioned was G13, he'd be a 6 million, not 3.7. It's as simple as that. If he'd went for a full Padme Revan, he wouldn't have C or Executor, wouldn't have access to fleet rewards, or would lose some battles in Grand Arena when one was C. So, this kind of gets to the heart of it, right? This was a C Rush account. And I'll put the link for this video at the end of this, end of here, so you can go back and watch it if you want to, kind of see what we're talking about. But he rushed C, he had C and Executor, but he had like a useless Padme team, a useless Jedi Knight Revan team. And I say all the time about Jedi Knight Revan, it applies less to Padme, more to Jedi Knight Revan. It's not just a simple basic farm that you're not going to farm up the pieces to get Jedi Knight Revan for any reason other than to get Jedi Knight Revan. You will farm Geos and Django automatically, so Padme becomes kind of an automatic farm, but you're farming Revan on purpose. And if you're going to farm him and not finish his team, you're just wasting that whole time period in the game that you spent farming Revan was wasted energy and wasted time. That's why I always say you should maximize that team. Now, I do get now this is an interesting point. I don't agree with it. He would be at 6 million, not 3.7. Well, kind of, but he might be at 3.7 instead with some more teams that are finished. But it's a fair point that I always come out and say, finish your farms, and I don't really leave a lot of room in there. And then I said there was a second roster for comparison. So I put another roster in there where all the farms were finished or on their way to being finished to just show the difference at about 4 million galactic power, what a roster can look like when you compare them. So that was just a comment to that. Well, then Chris Hardy comes in, and this is a good point too. The point is at 4 million, those teams could and should already be in relics if you're looking to be competitive and a benefit to your guild. It's about being efficient and focused with your progression. If you're seeing this video, it's in all likelihood because the roster owner has asked, what could have I done better and where can I improve? That being said, we don't see the whole roster, so we don't know where all the other bloat is coming from. This is a fair point too. I get a lot of feedback on comments. Why are you making fun of this guy's roster? Why are you poking fun? Because he's, was it so horrible that people want to have fun and farm what they want? And, yeah, okay. Well, roster mania videos, we go out and find random rosters and we kind of poke fun at them. It's fine. Roster review videos where I find most of this stuff, people ask me to look at their roster and they ask me what should be better on their roster and I tell them. So it's feedback based on, you know, requests. So by comparison, I'm at 1.7 million working at SLKR. If I upgrade nothing other than Rex, I should probably have an R7 SLKR by 1.9 million. With my Padme team up to 70k, another 70k in that team would be finished. With the overlap from SLKR, Executor, and C, and already having a serviceable Imperial Trooper team, R3 Vader, when I'm ready to pivot to Executor and then C, I'll be around 3 million, maybe less if I'm efficient with my farming for 2 GLs and Executors. So I was just talking about efficient farming. Okay, then Luke Remsburg pops in. Chris Hardy, sure you'd be able to get all 3 of those by 4 million. I think this is just a really good discussion, guys. Really good discussion. Likely not 3 million, but you won't actually be maximizing your roster because you'll just be slowing down your GP growth to make it look better. I'm not sure. Okay, let's read the rest. By taking up other side teams along the way, without sacrificing much progress, if any, towards your big farms, you'd have more usable teams, get to PGs faster, that's Proving Grounds, and do better in most modes, including Grand Arena, but the video would describe that as not maximized. I don't think that's the truth. I don't think that's the truth. I don't think I would describe that as by taking up other side teams along the way. I'm all for taking up other side teams. I'm just not for starting a farm if you're not going to finish it. All right, let's keep going. Then Luke says again, personally, I think it's much more important to do a cost-benefit analysis of what taking a certain team further would do for you. I do agree with this, and this is where I might be coming around a little bit. Example, G12 Old Republic would get you more score in Raid. Is that worth it over taking a simple member of your Padme team to Relics? Well, that's assuming you're in a guild that's doing Crate Dragon Raid, so let's keep that in mind. And a G12 Old Republic team is not really, I mean, they're going to do okay in the raid. That's not that exciting. Maybe not if that's GK or Anakin. By the way, a Padme team at Relics does a lot for you in every game mode except Crate Dragon. Every game mode except Crate Dragon. But again, I agree, the cost-benefit analysis is what you have to really think about. This is why I talk about finishing teams like Padme and Jedi Knight Revan. They fit into a lot of different game modes. That's why the cost-benefit analysis is so strong. Maybe not if that's GK or Anakin, but once those two are Relics, it may be better to get that Old Republic team to G12 before putting Relics on Ahsoka or Mace. Well, Ahsoka has a ship, too, that becomes pretty important with the Negotiator. Mace is a really good tank. I don't know if I agree with that. Although Mace is kind of a side, unless you're going for Jedi Master Club, he's kind of a sidekick. Name that movie. My old Ben and Visa sit at G11, but my Starkiller team still kills GLs almost every match. Okay, so Starkiller is a great farm, and I love it, but his primary use comes in two game modes, Territory Wars and Grand Arena. He's not a lot of use in most other game modes, unless you're playing, Geonos' Territory Battles or something, but like in Rote, I don't think he's very good, so, I don't know. I'd say it's maximizing a lot more than me wasting the materials to bring those characters up to the cost of something else. And I say, I'd love to see a cost-benefit analysis. I doubt I could do it justice with the construction. I could present the heck out of it. That's what I'm saying. Hey, give me a cost-benefit analysis. I'll present it. Chris Hardy says, hey, Luke Remsburg, it's about having teams that are going to be annoying, mediocre for people to face or you to use in various game modes, and versus having infuriating teams and dominating teams. Having 10 mediocre developed teams like Padme, CLS, Rebens is more beneficial for someone like myself at the 1 to 2 million mark, but the 4 million mark, not so much. That's true also. My 70k Padme team or my 85k Bounty Hunter team may be slightly challenging for someone of my galactic power lower, but against anyone punching down against me, as most of us find, yes, if you're paying attention to this channel and you're really working on your teams, you're always punching up in Grand Arena, which means the other guy is always punching down. Or lady, for that matter, other lady. As most of us find to be the case, they're cute. Better to have one of those maxed out than to move on to something else. Ideally finishing our big team, then to move on to... So I agree with this too. In the beginning, yes, you're going to need a wider base team to perform in different content like fleets, Grand Arena, TB, raids. By 4 million, you're starting to move into the mid-game. I think 4 million is the mid-game cutoff. Early game gets you to 4 million, and then Proving Grounds hits and Hard Conquest hits. You're in the mid-game at that point. We're having a really wide base is not going to be as beneficial as having a well-developed set of teams. Right. This is where you should have already been taking a step back to solidify your base. This is the point of the video. Right. My point is, you're saying, for example, that a team isn't okay before R3, which in my opinion is simply not true for the GP you're taking as example. At 4 million, you do way more by relicking only key characters. Now, this is an interesting point and something I'm really thinking about. Calvin Awesome, and guys, if you're not subscribed to Calvin Awesome, the guy's getting like 10,000 views per video and only has 5,000 subs. I don't get it. Go subscribe to Calvin Awesome. The guy is awesome. Go subscribe. Anyway, Calvin Awesome was saying today that, in a Grievous team with the droids and Grievous, a Relic Grievous can do a lot to carry those droids, because every time one of those droids dies, he gets a turn. So there are teams where having one Relic, and probably every team can do that. You see me do it with my Imperial Troopers. I've got Veers and Stark and Gideon at Gear 12, with Piet and Dark Trooper at Relic levels. And Piet and Dark Trooper carry that team. The other guys are just kind of there to provide the support around them. So it can be done. A Relic CLS and a Relic CLS with a Gear 12 team around him can do a lot of work. So there is a lot to say, or even a Relic CLS, Han and Chewie with a Gear 12 2PO and 3PO, that can still get you to tier 3 of the assault battle that you do with them. Anyway, we'll keep going here. What I'm saying is finish your farm is situational, really. I agree with that. I agree with that. If the guy isn't planning to go for Malik anytime soon, why would he relic all those gear? Why did he farm him in the first place? How many? I say this all the time, and this is my point. And I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you. You're bringing really good points, Kiki Machia. And I hope that Kiki Machia and Luke Remsburg and was it Luke Remsburg? I hope that Luke Remsburg, Chris Hardy, Kiki Machia. I'd love to see you guys here. Please comment if you're reading this. This is my point. This is my point. Why did he farm the characters to get him Darth Malik? Why have a Darth Revan team? Why have a Jedi Knight Revan team if you're just not gonna... It takes you time. It takes your resources away to farm those teams. If you're not going to relic them and go get Malik, then don't farm them. If you're not going to relic up Jedi Knight Revan, Bastila, Jolie Bindo, and get at least Gear 12 on, excuse me, on like, excuse me, Zalbar, not 100% yet. Zalbar mission, why did you farm them in the it takes you like 3 to 4 months to farm that team and get it geared up. Why? Why? Don't just drop it, finish it. Finish it. I'm not saying you're telling stupid things. I think that's fair. You know, we have disagreements. That's a great thing. The great thing about Galaxy of Heroes, the way the game is right now, the state of the game is great. There's so many options, farming options, and playing options in the game right now that you can make different decisions as players. We can all do different things, and they can all be perfectly good ideas and good things to do in the game. And we just have different opinions, and there's nothing wrong with that. It makes us stronger. The diversity of opinion, the diversity of thought that we have in the game, the diversity of game direction makes us stronger as a community. My farming guides versus AP's farming guides versus Sanjita's versus Arnold's. You put it all together, you find your own path, and that makes us stronger. I just think it doesn't make that much sense to compare such low GPs by cherry-picking the situations where your way to do it would work better. Having more team but no GL could open you a situation where you're facing a guy who puts 2 GLs in defense, you can't get through with the teams you have, and won't get any of all the... Okay, that happens every time. So that's the deal in Grand Arena. This is how Grand Arena works. You build your roster to climb as high in Grand Arena as possible, and every single match you face, the guy has 2 GLs and you have 0, or they have 3 and you have 1, and you have to find a way to win those battles. That is the goal. And then you stall out for a while, but you get more crystals as a result by building those teams up big, not building a bunch of mediocre teams. Last thing I'd add is nowadays, if you're using your counters well, you can most of the time get through the relic teams even with Gear 12-ish teams. Look at Iden, Night Sisters, Grievous, Qui-Gon, etc. So tell me that's... Maybe, but Iden doesn't lead you to any other big farms. It's an isolated farm. Night Sisters are isolated. They do the one assault battle, but it's still an isolated farm. They don't lead you anywhere. Grievous can get you to gas, and I love Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron. I'm not going to argue there, but not having him relic is still a handicap. And I said this is why the game is aging well. I just said the same thing I said. I didn't even know that was coming up. I didn't even know it was... Look at that. Nooch Too Good. Let's give a Nooch Too Good there. Hey, if you're watching the channel, if you're enjoying this commentary and you're enjoying the back and forth, I would encourage you to like the video, but subscribe to the channel. You know, we have a lot of folks on. We're building a great community here of Star Wars fans. You know, there's a red 5 Nooch underneath the graphic here, but like and subscribe, everybody. Take a second. Mrs. Nooch loves it when you like and subscribe. Check your subscribe button. It may not be pushed, but, you know, help me build this community into something special that we can keep building over and over and over again as we move through the game. Okay, Luke Remsburg, 100% agree with this. As you move into the later mid-game, datacrons can be very impactful, so R5 on everyone makes sense. It's not what Kiki Machia just said. Until then, but 4 million is the mid-game. 4 million is the mid-game, and you're moving into late game then too, and you're starting to use datacrons. I have a truckload of datacrons on my 6 million account, and I'm working on datacrons. I've got a lot of datacrons on my 3.5 million or my 3 million account. I mean, until then, almost every team is going to have tunes that are not worth taking that high, and the cost gets so... I agree with that too. Now, the cost is not as high. G11 to 12 is not as high anymore with the raid currency being what it is. You can get a lot more stun guns and cuffs and carbantes than ever before in the past. So the cost to get to gear 12 is not as high as it's lower than it's ever been in the game. Better off leaving the team so you can put a datacron on the team. Really love discussion. Probably worth the vid. There you go. I got more replies. Let's take a look. I got more here. Let's see. Luke Remsburg pops back in. Nooch, too good. I would just clarify. I do 100% agree with the finish your farm sentiment, but I think it goes too far to say you have to relic mission in Zalbar. Oh, I agree with that. 100. I would not say relic mission in Zalbar. I would not say that. And I don't think I do say that. In fact, I don't think I've ever said that. You know, finish your farm is just what we use. It's just kind of a fun little meme to use on the channel, and it's just to point out, hey man, we have so many people that start farms and then get distracted and move on to something else and leave great teams like the Revens or CLS just sitting there unused, Padme just sitting there completely unused. I think everything everybody's saying is right. Or Ahsoka and Maester. I think Ahsoka should be relic. I disagree with that one. She's a pretty easy relic. If I remember right, her gearing is really, she's one of the easier characters. Ahsoka, Grandmaster Yoda, First Order Executioner, the three characters I remember that are pretty easy to relic, or get to gear 12 especially. Especially as a smaller account, I think you maximize those teams by putting relics on 1 to 3 characters. I agree with this. I think that's a fine strategy, and I guess that's it. So that's the whole discussion. I thought it was a really good discussion that we could have, and I thought it was really spurred on by these guys. I hope that Luke Remsburg and Kiki Machia and who was our other guy here? It was another Luke, wasn't it? It was a couple of Lukes. No, it was Chris Hardy. His name is not Luke at all. His name is Chris Hardy. So Chris, Luke, Kiki Machia, hey, I'd love to see you guys comment on this. Let's have some more talk. I really think the question is, should you finish your farm? This goes to it. I think you're all right on all accounts. It's a matter of putting that together. I don't think you should relic Mission in Zalbar for your Old Republic team, but I do think you need to relic Jedi Knight Revan, Bass LaShant, and Jolie for your Old Republic team, because you relic Grandmaster Yoda to go with them. Boom, you have an amazing team. And I think the points about getting to 4 million and you're in the really challenging parts of the game, you got some datacrons. You really need to have really good punch-up teams because you're going to be facing big rosters, and a Gear 11 Iden Versio team is not going to do it for you at that point. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we got for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this conversation. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'd love to hear from the three guys here. That's what we got for today. I hope you have a great day. We will talk to you soon. And of course, always remember, Nooch too good.